Hi everyone, this is Chavi Garg, and today I welcome you all to our today's podcast series. Today, for our Azure Developer Communities podcast, we have Bill. He is the Microsoft Dynamics Practice Director at Avilamb. He is also a founder and CEO at Agentibus Technologies. And it's not just enough. He is also a Microsoft Technology stake leader with 20 plus Microsoft certification, which is actually a huge number. The intro might be sounding small, but I couldn't tell you more because it's so much experience that he is carrying today. So I welcome you, Bill, and I would be very happy if you could tell us more about yourself.
Thank you, Chavi, and thank you for reaching out and just inviting me to your extremely nice podcast. So I've been in technology for quite a while. I'm not going to name the number of years because it would make me quite old. But let's just say I've been involved in technology since a lot of the inception of the internet, the web, email, all of that, Netscape Navigator, all of that, and I guess the reason I was kind of brought to this podcast was my involvement with Azure Technologies. Over a decade ago, when Azure was first emerging as one of Microsoft's technologies, I was working with a startup company with a couple of buddies of mine, and we had created a Dynamics recruiting application. And it started out as more of an on-premise, but then Azure came along and then we moved it. We were one of the first companies to move it to the cloud. So that got me to experiment a lot when Azure first came about. So I experimented a little bit. Then I moved along to some consulting practice. Got involved in the government sector. Started my company, Agentibus Technologies, and currently my current main function and my current function today is with Avilamb Technologies. We do a lot of great work with governments, and we have a very nice Azure cloud practice, and do a lot of public sector work, large architecture work, and it's just a lot of fun stuff and a lot of emerging technologies in Azure. So that's just a little bit about myself.
That's actually pretty much great and amazing at the same time. So, when I was giving your introduction, there was it's all about Azure. So I can sense that you have that love for Azure. So would be very happy to listen how you got started with your Azure journey, and also when you felt like, okay, now I'm going to spend my whole career and with Azure only. So how it got started?
Okay, so I would say my involvement in Azure is in two parts. So part one, I briefly touched upon. I was working with a startup company. We had a Dynamics recruiting software. It was a very innovative piece of software. Everything back then was on-premise and was not in the cloud. And so the cloud movement had just begun, and Amazon had already been the primary leader in that technology, and Microsoft was just emerging. So they came out with Azure, and as a technology company, we had to migrate to it. So we moved our product to the cloud, and shortly thereafter, I left that startup and focused on a consulting company. And then I went back to more on-premise, and that was the end of part one. Okay, so for a couple of years, I was involved with on-premise. I had a very good introductory and a head start on Azure. And so I kept that in my back pocket, but I fell behind a little bit. So I was doing a very large government contract, and of course, everything had to move to Azure. Everything was moving towards the cloud. Very large project that was on premise, and so I had to kind of rededicate myself to Azure. And so when I got back into Azure, I was like, oh my gosh, like there's just so much stuff. It has like just completely changed from when I first got involved. I thought I was still ahead of the game, and I was very behind the game. And so part two is when I had to play catch up. And in order to play catch up, I had to just immerse myself in the technology. There were just literally hundreds of features to just learn. And one of the big things that's very intimidating about Azure is like, where do you start, right? Like that's the biggest thing. Where do you start? Or how do you eat an elephant? You don't start with the whole elephant. You eat it one bite at a time. But that's the same thing with Azure. It's very intimidating. So I started out with the certification route. And so the thing about certifications, and the thing about at the time, Microsoft had started putting out these Microsoft Learn websites, and there was a lot of support for it. So it gave me kind of a structured way to kind of attack Azure instead of just randomly just learning knowledge. So I could attack it from the introduction of Azure. I could attack it from the developer side of Azure. I can tackle it from the administration side of Azure. And then I can attack it from the Azure architect side of Azure. So I can go step by step by step and just slowly build upon my knowledge. And that's the way I tackled Azure. And it was a great kind of maybe a venture is the wrong word, but it was a great kind of like stepping stone kind of process that helped me to kind of learn it in a structured, non-intimidating way.
That's actually amazing to hear, because the way you shared your journey, like how you got started, and also your love for Azure, how it is currently going on, it's actually incredible to hear. So moving on with that, as you mentioned that like obviously you actually love Azure. So in that case, I would be very happy to know what are like day-to-day trends that are currently going on, and also how, like according to you, how Azure technology is emerging day by day, and how is it helping people out there in understanding cloud, and like how is it going?
Yeah, so I'll talk about like a little bit how I was first introduced with Azure and how it's like kind of changed now. So when I was first introduced to Azure, which was in the beginning, everything was Microsoft based, and everything was lift and shift. So when I say lift and shift, everything was basically taking servers and then just moving it to the cloud. And what that meant was basically taking all the way down from the operating system and just, moving it into the cloud. And then now you move to today, where you have maybe 100 operating systems on one server, and then you may have like 1,000, different stacks on there as far as Kubernetes and all of that. So everything is like, it's not lift and shift. Everything is like service oriented. So that's the way it is today. But now we're getting to like another phase where now it's not only like you have services and infrastructure and platform and all of that all abstracted out. Now you have it's not even just Microsoft products. You have Linux. You even have like the ability to like crisscross Amazon services. And so now it's basically company and product agnostic. And so in the future, you'll be able to design and architect maybe cross-platform cloud services that have a bit of some Amazon architecture here, some Microsoft architecture here. And then, you'll have like things like Salesforce and different like just cross products. and not just Azure Microsoft products. And so you'll be able to, as a company, if you're not a Microsoft shop purely, you'll be able to kind of bring your technologies in. And if you want to keep your technology the way it is, keep your technology stack the way it is, you can keep it. Or if you want to slowly just kind of migrate it toward the Microsoft stack, you can. So that's the way. That's what I see now in the current current day to day, or in the future of Azure. So.
That was actually very much insightful because that's something which is going on and which will help people. So, moving with that, like as you are the Microsoft Dynamics practice director, so many a times this is a question that actually comes to people's mind, that when you have like years of experience in a particular field, and when you are at a like designation of director or something like that, so in that case, what are your roles and responsibilities looks like are you also learning the new trends, or are you managing just a team? So, what are your roles and responsibility? How your day looks like?
Yeah. So my particular role as like a director is probably different from a lot of people's role. I am still like knee deep in the technologies, um, and and then I'm also doing other things like trying to gain businesses. I'm also doing some architect work. I'm also doing some dev lead work. So I'm like knee deep in a lot of these things. So maybe I can answer your question in what are the different roles from top to bottom. So one of the different roles as a director is just being able to win business. So sometimes there are like business opportunities in a particular practice, and you have to take trips and talk to clients and customers, and so you have to be able to develop personal relationships and be comfortable, with that role, and not just be stuck in the technology stack. So you have to be a great communicator. The second thing is you have to have like a roadmap for the company, and the practice in particular. So that consists of just a lot of reading. Strategic book readings. As you can see behind me, I have like a lot of books. Uh, you know, it's funny because the more money that you make, the more money you invest in like just a bunch of books. I spend like a ton of money on books. I'm constantly just reading things, and so now these days, it's not just on technology. It's just a lot of stuff is on strategy, and different things like that. Third, you have to lead people within your company, your teams. So not only do you have to have like a roadmap for different projects, you have to have a roadmap for your team, and develop like different stages of different projects, sort of like developing like a template that the company can use, a repeatable process that will increase the probability of success. And then after that, you also have to be a mentor. Um, like you said, this podcast is sure it's to inspire other people to how to learn, how to achieve more in their career. And so as a practice lead or any kind of leadership role, there's going to be people that are hungry for career growth and personal growth, and are looking to fill maybe roles such as your shoes in different capacities. And so as someone who has had to work for that, it kind of it inspires you, because a lot of times, I will say this in my experience, there are probably there are a lot of people that are content in their roles, but there are a few people that are very hungry. And when you see those hungry people that are asking questions, it's very inspirational to me as a person, because that's the way I was. And it actually inspires me that there's like another wave of technologists coming up, and you know, uh, that's pretty much it.
That was so great. Like, to be honest, like hearing your roles and like what sort of thing actually a director has to do. That's really great to listen. And also, I'm pretty much sure that it's gonna help people as well to understand what actually sort of responsibilities you will be like heading over when you'll have a decade of experience or something like that, because people still have this perspective that what's gonna like happen next. This is a question that used to come up with everyone's mind every time. So it will help them to have an idea about it. So moving with that, like when you talk about Azure, you talk about these things. So according to you, what would be the future trends that going to come in Azure, or like if you can have like do you have a perspective about it, how Azure will be helping people, or how Azure will be emerging in the future? So can you put some light on this thing? It would be really great.
Yeah, so I think I touched upon like technology or product agnostic. Um, there's another thing that I didn't bring up before is just making the world just kind of shrink. It's The world is just kind of shrunk in the fact that you have countries like India, the U.S., countries in Europe just collaborating, people taking trips back and forth, and the applications are global now, and so that means that the applications have to have very little latency. So when I speak about latency, it's just the applications have to be fast, right? Um, if I have a product in America and have like a lot of customers in India, I don't want my Indian customers waiting 10 seconds for my page to load, or when I click a button, I don't want them to see a spinning, a spinner indicating the distance I am away from India. So I believe a lot of the products in Azure will be more globally, directed. I noticed one thing in particular as I was helping a buddy of mine. Um, there is something called the load balancer. And so in Azure, the load balancer just loads, basically keeps the system resources balanced across different servers. But now they have the global load balancer. So now not only is it worrying about system resource allocation, it's worrying about the latency of the information going across. You also have different replication processes of your application replicating across geographic regions. So that's already in place now, but I think Azure is going to make it a lot easier for architects to implement this. A lot of times our architects have had to put a lot of smaller components together and then piece the puzzles together just right to get the performance and the latency to work just perfect. And I mean, I guess that's great. It gives you the opportunity to make the big bucks. But I think going forward, I think Azure and a lot of the cloud services are going to make it a lot easier for companies to architect, things to make their products more global and responsive to the customer interactions or clients interactions. So
that was amazing to hear that. And I would be very happy to conclude this podcast, like talking something about your future plans. Is anything that you're planning in future? Will you be shifting your domain, or you would be just staying in Azure? So any future plan that you would be happy to share with us?
yeah, so Azure. I'll just share something just outside of Azure, just for anyone who's just a technologist or technophile, and for your career. So back when I was a lot younger, our product or our career path was more like I'm going to be a JavaScript developer. I'm going to be a C# developer. I'm going to be a .NET developer. I'm going to be a Java. So the opportunities were very kind of linear. One thing that I have kind of changed in my career path is to basically just try to pick up everything. One of the things I learned just from going from working for a company to running my own company is my strategic goal was to be in America, we have a large company called Walmart where you can buy anything. So I wanted to be a technology version of this mega superstore Walmart where I know everything in that aspect. I am able to get on a wide variety of projects, and then as the projects enter different phases and they say, okay, thanks for your skills, bye-bye, they can look at my skills and say, hey, oh, this guy already has this skill, let's keep him on. Oh, this guy already has this skill, let's keep him on. So it allows me to like get on more wide range of projects, and also allows me to stay on longer on different projects for the different phases, because not only do I have development skills or architect skills, I have Azure skills, I also have dynamic skills, I have front end skills, I've got global architecture design. So plus probably some database backend skills. So I would advise any technologist, don't go down a narrow path. If you want to do that, that's fine. But if you want to open up a wide, vast array of opportunities, then just give that a thought. It's not for everyone. It's very challenging. But with the great challenge, there's an opportunity for like a huge reward. So just push yourself and just challenge yourself. And as far as my future, I'm going to be with Avilamb, for the near future, and hopefully we grow and grow and grow, and we're able to just make changes in the technology area. So.
That was awesome. That was really awesome. Like, also, like, it's not just the future plans that you have shared. You actually motivated, inspired people out there as well to work in the technology. It was really great having you today. And to be honest, I'm pretty much sure that this podcast is going to help a lot of people out there in understanding the domain and also the roles and responsibility, and also what a technology mean to one. And so, with that note, I would be happy to greet you again. And thanks a lot for joining in today. It was really great having you for the today's podcast, and I'm pretty much sure it's going to help a lot. And so, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chavi. It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much.